All right. I think we have flipped. Yes, we are live. Hello, hello.
Hello, and welcome to BookCAST. I'm Dana, and this is my dad, Keith,
Hello.
and we love books and we love talking about books. Um, Tonight, episode 11, we are covering chapters 21 through 30 of Ernest Cline's Ready Player One.
Whoop, whoop.
Woo. And I guess, this is like a good chunk of the book through. Like we have 10 more chapters after this, huh?
Yeah, that's it. Which
Or
we
maybe
will
less than.
either next weekend or weekend after next, we'll probably finish those up. Maybe in between if we can get it in. But remember,
Oh,
I got D
and
and D next weekend, so
we could do it like next Sunday, maybe.
we might be able to.
And don't forget, the movie is coming out soon.
Oh, I pre-ordered it.
On digitally, it's supposed to be out digitally on July 3rd, and then on the hard copy, July 24th.
I have the
So
whole thing, so I'll be able to watch it on July 3rd. Again, I've already seen it at the
you know
movies.
what? I'm gonna buy it when it comes out digitally, so I can watch it.
I don't blame you.
Because I don't want to wait anymore.
It's not as good as the book, but it's good.
Yeah, I think that's the case with most movies that come out and, they're based off of books. It's usually very different from the source material.
Yeah. Well, like Dana said, we're covering chapters 21 through 30 tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'd like for y'all to take your time and provide your comments for us on both the video podcast as well as the blog that we post. I'll put a link to the blog that y'all can go take a look at here in the chat in a minute. And the more comments y'all make, it'll help us keep you entertained and keep you interested, as well as making it interesting for us to put this together. We kind of had that conversation earlier before we started. One of the things we both struggle with is it really takes a lot of time to put these things together. And we're trying to figure out a way to do this to where it doesn't take nearly as much time to put it together, but we still kind of do what we're doing already. So we're just thinking out loud, maybe coming up with some ideas. So maybe some of you may have some suggestions. Feel free to post them out on the blog or send me an IM in Twitch and give some suggestions there as well. Either way, it works fine. Huh? Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's not a bad idea.
Mom?
Yeah, she come crawling out of the woodwork. But anyway, we're gonna get kicked off here. We hope everyone's had a good week, and I hope y'all having a good weekend so far. That's Wizard, the never mind, the cat. I was gonna say something bad, but I'm not gonna say it. I feel guilty now.
He jumped off. He did not like me picking him up. He was quite fine just sitting on my lap, but once I picked him up, he was like, no, so he jumped off.
I don't want none of that. Mm-mm.
He's a very particular cat.
Yep. So, chapter 21.
Um, well, last time we left off, um, Parsifal had kind of hit a low point. Artemis broke up. Him and Artemis were kind of were dating a little bit, and then she broke up with him, and to focus on the hunt, and he had no success trying to win her back over. He tried everything in the book, couldn't win her back over.
Oh, sorry.
So he decides he's just going to focus on the hunt, but he doesn't really focus that much because he also, with his second identity, that he created to keep it to so that way the Sixers don't find him in the real world, he created a fake identity, which he used to get himself a job. And he kind of fell into the day to day and didn't really focus that hard on the hunt. And Artemis ended up getting the Jade Key. And that's where we left off. He gets notification at the end of one of his work days, and it's Artemis has gotten the Jade Key.
Well, that's not going to help his psyche, because
No,
not
because
only has he lost his girlfriend, pretty much almost lost his best friend for the most part, he ain't got nobody, and he's falling behind in the contest. So I mean, that's yeah, you're right. His points getting lower and lower. I don't think he's
yep.
hit his full low point yet. It's coming though.
No, it's coming. Um, and he knows that with Artemis finding the Jade Key, the Sixers will be able to track her because they have a really special artifact. And it's mentioned before that the Sixers pretty much have grabbed a lot of the really good artifacts. As soon as something comes up for auction and it's a really really powerful artifact or something for the game, they snatch it up right up.
Yeah, but the way they do it is it's real. Everything they do is sneaky and unfair. They literally wait until a couple of minutes before the bidding is done, and they'll throw like 2 million credits onto it to where no one else can possibly beat them. So in that way, they're paying as little as they possibly can for it in some cases. So they just wait till the last minute, and then they throw the power of the company behind it with all their infinite resources, and that's how they ended up with the Findaro's tablet. That's how they ended up with the tablet.
Now, usually they do it anonymously, but for this tablet of finding,
that's right.
Sorrento didn't do it anonymously because he wanted the High Five to know that he could track them. See, Findaro's tablet of finding allows its user to find any avatar's location at that exact moment, but it's got a range limitation.
And it's only usable once per day.
Yes.
It is once per day. It's like a daily in the old 4.0 days.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're in a different sector, it will only tell you what sector that other avatar is in.
Right.
So it's got a limit. It's a range limitation. But so we know that the Sixers have Findaro's tablet of finding. And with Artemis having found the Jade Key, they can easily find it themselves. Well, maybe not too easily, because they apparently they weren't in the same sector as Artemis when she found the Jade Key. So the entire fleet goes to Sector 7, which is where Artemis was. And so it's going to take the Sixers or Suxers just a little bit more time to find the key. So this will give Parsifal some time, but at this point, he's feeling pretty down on himself.
Oh yeah, he is, and you can understand why. I mean, like I said, same thing I said a few minutes ago. I hate to keep repeating myself, but everything he's done has all been wrong. Losing everything, everybody, making all the wrong moves and decisions about everything, and falling behind in the contest. Now his mind, which is what H warned him against, focus on your business. Don't worry about no girls or nothing like that. Don't even worry about me. H told him, this is a contest. We have to keep it separate. We might be friends, but you got to do what you got to do. Don't share secrets. Let's not discuss anything. And Parsifal just doesn't do that. He's a derp.
I mean, even Artemis warned him. Even Artemis warned him, focus on the contest, but he was too busy focusing on her. And then now he's been dethroned. He's not in first place anymore. Artemis is in first place because she found the Jade Key. So he spends like so once he finds that out and he sees the Sixers just all converging on the sector that she was in, he spends the rest of the day just berating himself. He's in shock, and he knows, but he knows he only has himself to blame.
Yeah, that's right.
He did blame himself. So,
Yeah.
but
And then,
he
but
he does get his motivation back because of this.
yep, he does, because about an hour and a half after Artemis gets the Jade key, just so happens that entire Suxer fleet, I love the way you put Suxer fleet in there, arrives in Sector 7, and that's exactly where Artemis was. They don't
Mhm.
pinpoint her location, but,
Mm-mm.
at least they know where she is. And that's kind of the thing. If you're too far away, depending on where you are from the person, when you actually write their name on this tablet, because that tablet, you just write the avatar's name on it, and it'll tell you. Now, if you happen to be in the same sector, it'll tell you the exact location. But because they weren't in the exact same sector, you only get so much information. But they narrowed it down to know that she was in Sector 7 somewhere.
Yeah. So, I mean, that gives Parsifal a little bit of time because um, they'll have to wait a whole another day before they can use the tablet again.
Yeah.
So they can't. I mean, there's a lot of planets in Sector 7, you know. So they're gonna have to. It's gonna take some time. So Parsifal has this window before they use the tablet again to be able to figure out. And plus, Artemis isn't gonna stay in that one spot. She's gonna leave.
Well,
You
yeah.
know. So
As soon as she gets the key, she's gonna start figuring out where the gate is. So she's gonna start going through those motions. She knows better than to stay still, especially
hmm
with everything that's going on. So she's probably been long gone at this point.
and and because there are a lot of Sixers in Sector 7, of course, the Gunters are going to show up. All the other Gunters start arriving, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So, um,
So I don't remember. Does this knock him to? I think this knocks him to second place at this point.
yeah. Yeah, he
Yeah.
gets dethroned. So you kind of see his dream coming true a little bit because remember in his dream the egg was like taken from him,
Yep.
as the armies converged on him. So at this point, it's
That
kind
dream's
of
coming
like
true a little bit.
yeah, because he's not no longer in first place,
Yeah.
which is something the media goes crazy over. Oh, Parzival dethroned.
But I'll tell you one thing that's realistic. The media in this doggone story is just as stupid as the media in real life. They take information and they sensationalize it to make a story out of almost nothing in a lot of cases. And I don't care if you listen to CNN, Fox, CBS, ABC, NBC. They all do that shit.
Yep. On YouTube, they call it clickbait, basically.
Yeah.
Um, but because of this, he gets his motivation back. He wants to win the contest now more than ever. Not just for the money. He wants to prove something to Artemis. He wants plus he also wants the contest to be over so she'll talk to him again.
That I
Because she
think
did.
that's more of his. I think that's his biggest motivation
Yeah.
is the fact that he wants to get it over with so they can reestablish their relationship.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I don't blame him. You got to
So
have a good woman in your life. Yes, everybody
oh
knows
my
this. You got to
god.
have that good woman in your life.
So with
It's
renewed
essential.
with renewed vigor,
It's a
he
must.
studies
It's important.
he studies the quatrain. Oh my god. He studies the quatrain and he decides to go because of the way it was worded. He decides to go. There's this planet in Sector 7 called Arcade, which I love the way it's spelled,
I
but you
know.
still know what they're trying to say. It's arcade, but spelled Archaide. So I kind of like that.
Yeah, I do too.
But
It's cool.
so he decides that because arcade is like the biggest video game museum, and the Quatrain talked about like trophies and stuff, and there's like trophies in there. So he decides to go to, and Arcadia is located in Sector 7 where Artemis was. So he decides that's where he needs to go, and and it's a PvP zone, and also a chaos zone. So he gears up, and he outfits himself with all of his, the mat. Uh-oh. So my cat was trying to climb up something he shouldn't be trying to climb up. I was trying to stop him before he did unspeakable damage. So, anyways, as I was saying,
She
he
has a
just
big butt cat. He's fat.
his name is Wizard. He's very fluffy. Okay,
He ain't fluffy. He hefty.
but anyways, so he decides to go to Arcade in Sector 7, but because it's PvP zone, he decks himself out in all of his, really good gear and his inventory. He fills it up with all of his best
Right.
stuff. Um,
That's right.
and he gets on his ship, which he called the Vonnegut, which is the name. It's the I think it's a name of an author, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, Kurt Vonnegut.
Okay, well, I have only heard about him when I read this, and then I looked it up, but he's an author. He called his ship Vonnegut, but the ship is the ship from Firefly, the Serenity. So I
Yep.
thought that was pretty cool because I watched Firefly and I've seen the movie Serenity, and I love the TV show and the movie. And it sucks that there are only 14 episodes because it got canceled.
Yep. Kurt Vonnegut is a pretty experienced author. He's actually written some stuff. He was around for a while. He's written. He started in 1952. He wrote a book called Player Piano. He wrote The Sirens of Titan, Mother Night, Cat's Cradle, God Bless You, Mr. Rosewater, Slaughterhouse 5, Breakfast of Champions, Slapstick, Jailbird, Deadeye Dick, Galapagos, a novel, Bluebird, autobiography of somebody, a little novel you might have heard of called Hocus Pocus, and Timequake.
He wrote what? Really?
He wrote the book 1990, Hocus Pocus. Let me see if it's the same thing. Nope, it's not the same thing that you're talking about. This is about a Vietnam War veteran named Eugene Hartke. Hartke, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, it's not the same Hocus Pocus that when I saw Hocus Pocus, I was like, well, no, but yeah, it's not the same thing.
Okay, that's what I figured.
But apparently he's or was a well-known author. I think is he still around? I don't know if I hope he's still around. He wrote a ton of short stories. Those are the novels. He's got a bunch of collections, a bunch of plays. Requiem. I remember that play. I do actually remember that. Ton of short stories. I don't think he's got any movie credits. I think it's Kurt Vonnegut that he named it after. But anyway, keep going. I'm sorry. You know me. I get carried away. I'm sorry.
Well, no, but see, that's what's so cool about this book is that a lot of stuff, like, you see the reference, and then if you're curious enough, you want to go and look it up, and then you might get into a whole new set of media that you didn't think about before.
Oh yeah.
Like you might want to read a few books by Vonnegut. You might want to go watch Firefly and and stuff. So this is just, I mean, come on. I want to see War Games, which I haven't watched it yet. It's right there. I feel bad because I know we were supposed to watch it when you were up here, and I haven't watched it yet. What?
You should have watched that by now. I left it for you. Of course, you got another 4 or 5 weeks before we come back, but
yeah.
how are we going to do that? Never mind. We'll talk about that later. We gonna get carried away. We got to get finished with the chapters. See, we get carried away, people.
We do. We get off on tangents because we like to talk.
Yep.
Um,
Oh, and by the way, welcome to Commander Root Electrical Skateboard and Commander Root. Yeah, I got that right. Electrical Skateboard and Trilogy. Thank y'all for tuning in. We appreciate it.
so
We got people watching.
at the end of the chapter, at the end of chapter 21, um, Parzival gets on his ship, and as he's leaving, he has to avoid these campers who are hanging out around his little asteroid planet, around his little asteroid stronghold. Those people, and these people are usually like fans or disciples, bounty hunters, and
Freaks.
then
Gotcha.
and then apparently there's a group of people who tail gunters for intel that they sell. They gain information about what the gunter is up to, and then they sell it for a high price. But Parzival loses them easily and heads to Arcade, and that leads into chapter 22, where now I like Arcade. It's a really cool planet. It's not my favorite planet that we've talked about so far. Um, I like that other one on the birthday chapter. That was my favorite.
Oh,
But
the one oh yeah, yeah. I forgot the name of that one, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that
yeah.
place was really cool.
Um, but Arcade is coded to kind of look more like the video games from the 70s and 80s. It's pixelated, like heavily pixelated. Um, and from a distance, it's supposed to look like the vector graphic Death Star from Atari's 1983 arcade game.
And that was the bomb. I played that.
So, it's also the planet is hollow. It's the largest video game museum in Oasis. Um, so from a distance, it looks pixelated, but once you get inside the museum, it looks realistic again. So it's just like the surface of the planet is pixelated. Um, under the surface of the planet, there's like levels upon levels of recreations of video arcades. Because according to Parsival, a lot of the older players went in and coded their favorite childhood video arcades into the museum. So the arcades that are closer to the surface are all like arcades that we would find today, the 21st century arcades. And then the further you go in, the arcades, get older and the games get older in those arcades. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it's easy to get lost. So when Parzival lands and he enters the museum, he pulls up a map to kind of help guide him, because there's so many different ways to get to each of the levels, between like secret passages and elevators, stairs, trapdoors, just every kind of way you can get from one level to another that it exists on this planet. So he keeps the map up while traveling through arcades so he doesn't get lost.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Well, hello,
Um,
wizard.
Wizard. Um, and one of the particular entrance that he uses to get into the museum is next to an Aladdin's Castle arcade, which is um pretty cool because there was an Aladdin's Castle arcade for a good while in the Lafayette Mall.
Yes, there was.
And I
We
remember me and Alex going to that arcade on a date,
Oh, look at you.
and we were playing Dance Dance Revolution. So
That's just
so
so cute.
so I thought that was pretty cool. But it's not there anymore. There's no more Aladdin's Castle. Like not long after that it changed. I don't know what it is now.
No, they actually, it's just in the last 3 or 4 years they got rid of it.
Yeah.
It lasted for a while.
But yeah, that first summer me and Alex were together, we would go to the mall in Lafayette and we would go to Aladdin's Castle and play Dance Dance Revolution together.
Oh, that's so sweet. Mama and I used to go to the House of Wheels skating center.
Oh wow.
I'd stand there with my roller skates on next to the pool table trying to look cool because I couldn't skate worth the damn, and Mama would skate. And every time we tried to couple skate, I got hurt
Oh.
because I can't skate. It's bad. It was terrible.
Oh my god.
But look, I look cool with them skates on standing at the pool table, though. I was cool.
I'm sure you thought
I was looking cool.
I'm sure you thought you looked cool.
Oh, yeah, I was the stuff.
Anyway, so Parsival makes his way deeper to the museum.
Oh, I just love that segue. You just kind of hop right over my comments. That's all right. Your birthday's coming up.
Anyways, he goes farther into the museum until he gets to the Gregarious System Simulations Museum. But after, looking around for a little while, he realized that there was absolutely nothing here that has anything to do with the hunt. He wasted some time.
Wasted some time? He wasted a whole hell of a lot of time trying to play that stupid video game.
No, that's next.
Oh, did I give that away?
As he's leaving the museum, he takes a different route to go up to the surface.
He's already wasted time, and he's about to waste even more time. This boy is as derp as anybody I have ever seen.
So
he's stupid.
On his way back up to the surface, he takes a different way than he took last time he was there. And he finds a Happy Time Pizza. And Happy Time Pizza was where James Holiday used to
Pizza would be good right now.
To get away from home, huh?
Pizza would be really good right now.
Oh, yeah, Midnight Pizza.
We haven't done that in a long time.
No.
Oh, I missed that. Nah, I'm going to be sad. Keep talking. I'm going to get all depressed.
So anyways, he finds a Happy Time Pizza, which is where James Holiday used to go when he to hang out and play arcade games when he didn't want to go back home to his fighting parents, and his dad was an alcoholic and whatever, and his mom was just a bee. But anyways, so Parsival goes inside because he loves anything and everything to do with Holiday. So he's like wondering. It's like, oh, a Happy Time Pizza. So he goes inside, and there's a Pac-Man machine that says out of order. And he's like, why is there an out of order machine coded into this? So he checks, and it's not really out of order.
Nope, it's just unplugged.
Exactly.
But when he walked in, he noticed a quarter at the corner of his eye on the thing. But it was unmovable. You couldn't move it. It's like it was glued to the arcade.
No, he noticed it on the Pac-Man machine. It was the coin is on the Pac-Man machine.
Right, because back in the day, that you used to put your quarters up there, and that's how you designated that you were the next person to play. Because remember, I told you before, that was the one thing that's the rule nobody broke. As long as you were winning, that game was yours. You kept playing and playing and playing. You couldn't get kicked off of it. But if you lost, whoever had their quarter up there next is the one that got to play next. So you'd place the quarters, and sometimes you'd have 8, 9, 10 quarters on the board, on the little thing. It's sort of like at the top of the machine, and that's where.
Yeah.
In fact, most of the machines, because that was a thing that teenagers just did on their own, they actually started to put little coin holders on the machines themselves. So that you could put 1, 2, 3, 4, and they would label them through 10. And you could actually sit there and just stack up the 10 quarters at a time.
Cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But anyway, just a piece of 80s history.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. So there's a 1981 quarter sitting on the machine that he couldn't remove. Like you said, he couldn't pick it up. So he plugs in, the game turns on, and he's like, well, why not? There must be something to this. There's got to be, because this says out of order and it's not. So he takes the out of order sticker and he puts it on one of the nearby arcade games.
He actually slams it. When he slams it, the quarter falls on the floor, remember?
That's after.
I thought that was right now.
No, right. He has to play a perfect game of Pac-Man.
First?
First. What he does,
okay, I had it wrong.
So he's like, well, I'm just gonna play. So he plays Pac-Man, and he plays a perfect game.
Not just the perfect game. I don't think anybody else has ever done it.
No, yeah, people have done it before. Holiday did it, and then there was a guy.
I didn't remember.
Actually, in the real world, there was a guy famous for playing a perfect game of Pac-Man. It's like a specific way you have to do it, where you have to you have to eat all of the things. Like, I'm not that familiar with Pac-Man, okay? I was never any good at it.
Well, obviously, I've never played a perfect game.
So,
but I played a lot of Pac-Man in my day.
The only Pac-Man game that I actually really liked was the one where you played as this 3D rendering of Pac-Man on Sega. I can't really say 3D, but you know what? It's 2D. And it's like he's in a neighborhood and he walks around and stuff. It was like an adventure game. I don't remember what it was called.
Just so that everybody knows, you play a perfect Pac-Man game, and it occurs when the player achieves maximum possible score on the first 255 levels by eating every possible dot, power pellet, fruit, and enemy without losing a single life, and using all extra lives to score as many points as possible to level 256. The first person to achieve this score was Billy Mitchell of Hollywood, Florida. He performed it. It took him 6 hours. Since then, only 6 other players in the real world have attained the maximum score at faster times. So it's very difficult to do, apparently.
And there's a whole split screen thing, and there's it's a big to do. It's a big thing.
It really is.
And in the book, Holiday was one of the people that played a perfect game. So Parzival plays a perfect game, and while he's playing, towards the end, while he's playing on that last stretch, he gets a notification that his friend H is now second place on the scoreboard, which means H has found the Jade Key. So he has to try not to get distracted, but in spite of this distraction, he plays a perfect game, and when he's done, what's his prize? The quarter. It drops down.
That's what happened. After he achieves it, the quarter falls.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
He picks it up and he puts it in his inventory, and after he puts it in his inventory, he can't remove it. It stays there. He can't take it out of his inventory or anything, and there's no description for it. It's just a coin sitting in his inventory. Is it going to come in handy later? We'll have to wait and see.
Maybe.
We'll have to wait and see. But at this point, Parzival, even though he's got the quarter, and he's not sure what it does, but he's not really caring too much because H and Artemis each have a Jade Key, and he still doesn't have a Jade Key. So
that's gonna make him persnickety.
So he goes back. So he leaves, with his new little prize that has nothing to do with the hunt, and he goes back up to the surface of the planet and gets back on his ship. And when he gets back on his ship, he gets an email from H that says payback time. And all that's in the email is a picture of the instruction manual cover from the text adventure game Zork. And that picture tells Parsifal all he needs to know about where he has to go next, which is a planet called Frobos. Where it's the planet is a whole planet of the recreation of the game Zork. So he sets his navigation for Frobos, which is a really weird word to say. Frobos.
Frobos. That's right.
So, chapter 23, he heads to Frobos. And Frobos is a planet located in a little cluster of planets.
Hey, Agaxian. Sorry, Dana. Hey, Agaxian. It says Zork. Wow, it was his first RPG. Yep, it was a mud game back in the day. It was cool. Mud games were awesome. We talked about those in the previous podcast. Those were fantastic.
You can actually still play them through emulators, right?
Yep.
You can, if you wanted to, you can play them through emulators.
Yep, you sure can.
So, Frobos is located in a cluster of planets that are all based off of text adventure games. That whole it's a little cluster of planets, and they're all recreations of old text adventure games. So Parsifal, he's on his ship, and he decides to use his ring of teleportation to teleport to the planet, and then he has his ship. He sets the navigation to land on the planet and to cloak itself, just in case the Sixers show up. So
yeah, because he can't. Unlike the other planet when they went to the party, he can't miniaturize it here.
Yeah, he can't.
Yup, not allowed.
So the whole planet of Frobos is basically just 512 copies of the game Zork. So he just teleports to one of those copies. And so he goes through the whole he basically plays through the whole game of Zork, which you have to like go and into this abandoned house, which was, you know, something like, what was it, part of that quatrain, part of the riddle, like long forgotten dwelling or something like that, which is the house in Zork. So he goes through, and there are trophies to collect under the house. So he goes through, and he also has the whistle from the Captain Crunch box. So apparently there was a hacker back in the day that could use the whistle to like hack phone lines or something like that.
True story.
That is true.
Yeah, the little it actually emitted a tone that allowed you to like make free long distance phone calls and stuff like that.
Wow. Well, so Parsifal
because that's basically how all those things were done. It was a certain tone that gave you clearance. It was like a special signal. They still use that today. They're actually at a really, really low frequency. Like when broadcasters they're live on the radio, and they want to send a notice to the radio station from their board op that they're about to go to commercial. They send a low frequency tone so that the radio station can cue it up and get ready to actually air the commercials that they want to air. And they do it for about 60 seconds. The board op sends the start signal, and after a certain amount of time, he quits running. He mutes. The radio station does their advertisements, and then when he's ready to go back on the air, he sends another signal. A few seconds later, the radio station's ready. He comes back on the air. That's exactly how it works today. You didn't know your daddy knew that stuff, did you? I know.
I'm so surprised. I'm like, whoa.
I know that stuff. That's how they run it. That's basically what they do. It's very, very simple.
You always say that. Oh, it's very simple. But all of that is just like...
But that's just it. Everybody's so mesmerized by that kind of stuff. It really isn't hard. Once it's like a magic trick. once you find out or figure out what the trick is, and you're like, oh, it's not so much anymore. You're not as amazed by it.
Yeah, apparently, it's so easy that back then they could use a whistle.
For certain things, they actually could. And I think if I remember right, if you look it up, they actually had to take that thing off the market.
I bet. Well, so Parzival gets the little whistle from the Captain Crunch box, but when he blows it, nothing happens. So he keeps it, he goes through the entire Zork quest line, gets all the trophies, completes the quest, and then blows the whistle, and the whistle turns into the Jade Key. But it's silver. Well, it turns out it's wrapped in foil. So he takes the foil off and it goes in his inventory and he has the Jade Key. So the Jade Key was wrapped in foil. So
I'm actually posting in the chat a link to that real life story. The guy's name was John Draper. It is a true story.
Cool.
Yeah, I posted a link to it so you can go read about it later if you want to. And the Jackson says, don't let him fool you. He was the hacker. No. That's proof right there that it wasn't me. But it is a true story. Stuff like that fascinates the hell out of me.
Wow.
I goes crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Dana.
No, that's totally cool. My train of thought gets derailed pretty easily.
I know, I'm sorry.
I like tangent. What?
I said, I know, I'm sorry. I said, I'm sorry. I didn't say nothing bad. See, she thinks I was talking bad about her, and I wasn't. Not this time.
You never know. But anyway, it's
Look,
okay.
Look.
It's okay. I like going on tangents. It's fun.
They can't see this because you're on a different camera, but there you go. Pa-da-pow!
Anyways. So now Parzival has the Jade Key. But,
took him long enough.
So that bumps him back up into second place. He's not in first place because he wasn't the first one to get the Jade Key and get those extra points. So he's only bumped up into second place. Here comes the wizard again.
Wizard, oh, it's true. He can't hear me anyway. He does not want you to be doing this. He's like, Mama, I demand attention.
He just wants food. He's on a diet.
Parzival. It's actually pronounced Parzival. Parzival, I think it is.
He's mad at me.
Is it Parzival?
Yeah.
Parzival?
It's supposed to be like Parzival. You know? But he spells it with the Z.
Yeah, Parzival, right? Is that right? Yeah.
That's how he spells it in the book. So he heads to his ship, and as he's heading to his ship, like, just Sixers just all converge onto where he is, like his location. Sixers everywhere. And because this is a PvP zone and a chaos zone, a chaos zone is where technology and magic both can work in that environment.
Right.
So because it's a chaos zone, like, just Parzival's in trouble. But he makes it out barely. Okay, his ship takes a lot of damage. Like, he's able to get into his ship and leave, but as he's leaving, he gets hit by the Sixers pretty heavily. But he's able to make it, though. He makes it. And he heads to the repair shop, Joe's Garage, and he gets his ship repaired. And while his ship is being repaired, he sends H a message saying that, look, whatever debt that you feel is owed has been paid, because he got the Jade Key.
But he didn't feel that there was a debt that was owed. He helped his friend because he wanted to. He wasn't looking for anything out of it, but
H repaid him anyway.
H felt like he owed him, so he did.
So, and also Parzival begs his friend to forgive him, and that, I was an idiot, that kind of stuff. And then he decides to.
He falls to second place, Agaxian. Well, actually, this gets him back up to second place, right? Because he had fallen to third. This gets
Yeah,
him
so
back
now
up to
he's
second
second.
place, and he's
Yeah.
what, 10,000 or 1,000 points below Artemis?
No, he's 1,000 points ahead of H.
Just 1,000 ahead of H. How much below Artemis? I don't remember.
I don't
I don't
remember.
remember. But yeah, this brings him back up to second place.
So he watches the news, okay? And I keep wanting to say Phobos. It is Phobos, right?
Yes, it's Phobos.
Because at one point I spelled it Frobos.
No, it's Phobos.
I did, but it's Phobos. Okay. This is the name of that planet, I swear. So Phobos has become a battleground of Sixers and Gunters. Because as soon as the Sixers showed up on Phobos, then all the Gunters showed up, and because the PvP zone it's a huge battle.
Yep. H is the one that sent Parzival the email. That's correct.
Yeah.
That led him to the planet.
So while Parzival's watching the news, Shoto's number. Well, actually, Sorrento's number shows up in 4th place, and then Shoto's number shows up in 5th place. So Sorrento got a jade key as well, and then Shoto. So Parzival was waiting and waiting. He was waiting for Shoto's brother, Daito, to appear. That did not happen. Because Daito's number, which had fallen further on the scoreboard, disappeared entirely. Daito was killed in battle. And that leads us into the next chapter. Where it talks about the strategy the Sixers used. Gunters and Sixers are fighting each other. And the Sixers, instead of trying to, like with the Tomb of Horrors, that was the Tomb of Horrors, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Like, well, you know how in the Tomb of Horrors they set up, like, several shields? Well, they can't really do that because this is a huge planet, so they can't set up shields around everything. So instead, they set up 10 of the 512 Zork sites. They set up 10, they isolate 10 of those sites for themselves. And they have Sixers lined up, and they just going through the quest, each getting a jade key. No one knows what happened to Daito except that the Sixers killed him within the first few minutes of what they're calling the Battle of Phobos. So, and the only one that knows exactly what happened is Shoto, and Shoto is not answering Parzival's chat requests at all. Like, Shoto is MIA right now. She's not talking to anybody. So Parzival spends some time looking over the next clue, definitely giving this one more focus than the last one. And this particular clue talks about taking a test, and he's like, what test? So he spends hours thinking about it, and then he falls asleep while thinking about it. And he wakes up to the scoreboard alarm, and things get so much worse. Sorrento has cleared the second gate. And now with clearing the second gate with Sorrento, so that means Sorrento figured out the clue and completed the challenge, and now he has clues for the crystal key, which means he's the closest that anyone has ever been to finding Holiday's egg. So Parzival freaks out and has a mental breakdown, which I cannot blame him.
Yeah, because he's like, this is it. Everything the way they thought this was going to turn out with, a low level, just nobody winning it and, taking care of it and being able to take care of the Oasis from then on. Daito just got killed. It seems like that the big money corporation
is going to
win and just destroy everything that everyone's ever known. So this is probably his lowest of the low points, I think, at least so far in the book.
Yep.
Pretty much.
He tries to get in touch with H, but H isn't answering. He doesn't call Shoto because he knows Shoto isn't in a talking mood. He thinks about flying to Artemis's home planet, Benatar, but instead of flying there, he decides to call her, and she doesn't pick up either. So he feels utterly alone, and his only companion at the moment is his AI, Max. And of course, Max isn't a real person, so at some point, he runs out of dialogue and just ends up talking, just repeating himself. So Parzival just feels completely alone. He is, but he's not at his lowest yet. The train passing at 11 o'clock at night.
It's actually not that bad. I mean, we can hear it, but it's not interfering with your voice. And I'm not saying you got a big mouth. Just being clear. No one said that, and I know the way your brain works. Because you're like, oh, he's saying I got a big mouth. No, that is not what I'm saying. So I got to clarify those things, just like with your mama.
Anyway, Parzival's still not at his lowest. Not yet. 2 days later, Sorrento clears the second gate and now has the crystal key. Now he's at his lowest point. Now he is like, we are at the hero of the story's lowest point in the book. None of his friends are talking to him. One of them, his avatar is dead, and the bad guys are the closest to winning the contest anyone has ever been. So he comes up with the most emo plan ever for if the Sixers actually win. He's like, as soon as he gets that notification that the Sixers have won, he's gonna give all of his avatar's things to a newbie avatar in his fan club, and then he's gonna kill his own avatar and in an explosion in his stronghold, and then he's gonna climb up to the roof of his apartment building and just throw himself off. So it's just like, I mean, the most dramatic. He is so dramatic.
I'm not saying any names. It is not you, but I know somebody who would probably think about acting that way because of a video game catastrophe. You know who I'm referring to.
Yes. Yes. So yeah,
there's only one person I know of that would get that extreme.
Yep.
Over a video game.
I'm just gonna kill myself if they win. I'm just gonna kill myself. So, but I mean, it's a little bit more dramatic than that. He's just like, oh, I'm gonna give everything to an avatar in my fan club who's a newbie, and I'm just gonna throw myself off my apartment building. But then he receives a message from Shoto that Daito left something in his will for Parzival. And then Parzival's like, why?
Oh, will? For a character? Really?
If his avatar died, wouldn't, Shoto, because Shoto, like when Daito's avatar was killed, all of his items that he had at that time were dropped. So Shoto picked up all of those things, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I need to roll back a little bit. So anyways.
I'm not the only one.
Anyways. Parzival's like, why isn't Daito just gonna create a new avatar? I'm sure Shoto has his stuff. Maybe why not just why isn't Daito creating a new avatar and just have Shoto give him all of his stuff back?
Yeah.
But Shoto says that he's gonna explain when he gets to Parzival's stronghold.
Well, one of the things that I know you didn't, it's hard to remember and mention, but Parzival found that Shoto's expressions looked really drab and dreary and down in the dumps. So, he's got some concerns, and he kind of feels like he knows what may have happened, but he's afraid to kind of mention it or say it at this point.
Yeah.
I think he doesn't want to believe it himself yet, but he kind of already knows.
And that brings us to chapter 25, Now, I have to mention the particular ship that Shoto arrives at Parsifal's stronghold in because I
Is that
grew
the
up.
one from Cowboy Bebop or whatever?
Yes,
That's what I thought. I'm
the
not
name
into
of
Japanese anime. I'm sorry. This is Dana's forte.
that is my favorite. One of my favorite anime of all time. I grew up watching Cowboy Bebop, and Shoto's ship is a ship modded after the Bebop from Cowboy Bebop. So I was so excited about that. I was like, yay!
Is it pronounced Kurosawa?
Yeah, Shoto's ship is called the Kurosawa, and it's from Cowboy, and it's the Bebop ship from Cowboy Bebop, but he calls it Kurosawa.
And I can look. Let me just give y'all a demonstration. Y'all gonna love this. When Dana read that in the book, she did.
I did not do that.
I'll bet you did. Don't lie. I've seen you do that before.
But I did squeal a little bit because look, I love
Cowboy
Bebop. I love Cowboy Bebop, and
and now you've got something in this particular novel that's you can relate to. No, I mean you're getting old.
Whatever.
Whoop, whoop. It's not just me. It's not just me.
Anyway, so yeah, I got a little excited about that because I'm like, yeah, anime fandom represent. But anyways,
that's hilarious.
Shoto explains that the Sixers the Sixers actually killed Daito.
In real life.
And I was like, what the heck? But apparently, and they did it so violently too. Just like they threw him off of his own balcony. They broke into his apartment, grabbed him from his haptic chair, and just threw him over the balcony. And like with what happened to Parzival at the beginning of the book, it was just a little. Apparently, suicide is a very common thing, in Japan, and the news barely covered it. Another.
And for Agaxian, just so that he's aware, in the beginning of the book, in one of the first couple of chapters, they thought Parzival was home. They were trying to get Parzival to work for them. The IOI was trying to get him to work for him, and they actually blew up his stack, which is a stack of basically mobile homes.
Yeah, trailers, mobile homes. Yeah.
That they kind of put together on scaffolding to save space. They are 19 and 20 high, sometimes longer, higher than that.
Mm-hmm.
But
just held together by scaffolding.
Yeah, and that's how they lived because it was cheaper, and they basically blew all that up, thinking that they were killing him because he didn't want to join them and cooperate. So they killed his aunt. They killed all of the people that he knew in the stack. Destroyed that entire area all for the sake of this game, which is a lot of money involved. So this doesn't surprise me that they would actually kill another player in real life. Now, Shoto didn't realize they'd go to that extreme. Even though they met in the basement at the time, he didn't really believe a lot of it because they just didn't trust any of the other 5 top gunters. But now he obviously realizes it. So I just wanted to give Agaxian a rough idea what you were talking about when the previous experience with the Sixers or Suxers are basically a group of militants that work for IOI.
Yeah, innovative online industries or something like that.
Something like that, right. Big, huge corporations like the Microsoft of the day.
They're the bad guys of this book because they want to take the Oasis and they want to monetize the entire thing, and basically that would kick out so many people because the Oasis is free to use. You have to. There are a lot.
But they're going to start charging monthly fees and all kind of stuff.
So nobody wants IOI to win.
Yeah,
at all because
and the Oasis is actually Oasis property in game, which is all a virtual reality game. Oasis property is actually more valuable than real world property at this point, isn't it? Or
Yes.
pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that coveted. It's everybody's escape of reality because the real world is so bad. So another little bit more background for you.
Yeah. So like it was still shocking because it's such a
Yeah.
violent way if you think about it, because Shoto even has like he has the video of what happened in game, and he also has like a recording because of what happened when they actually took Daito from his chair and threw him off the balcony. You know, because Daito's like, I think somebody broke in. Oh, you know, something like that. So Shoto heard him, and you find out that Daito and Shoto were not actually brothers in real life. They were.
That they had never even met in real life, right?
Yeah, they never even met.
That's
And
right.
it took it was a while before they even knew each other's names. But they had gotten so close through the Oasis that they pretty much they considered themselves brothers. So, yeah, Daito's real name is Toshiro Yoshiaki, and Shoto's real name is Akihide, because Shoto exchanges his real name with Parzival, whose real name is Wade. And so they were just so Shoto and Daito were just really close on game. Yeah, while they were on Phobos, Daito stayed outside of the house to stand guard while Shoto went inside to complete the challenge. But while Shoto was inside, the Sixers showed up. So Daito used the beta capsule that Parzival let him have because they did a quest together earlier on in the book. It was a Japanese quest, so Wade asked them to help him with the quest, and they did. But at the end of it, this really rare artifact called the beta capsule dropped. And Parzival decided to give it to them because it was a Japanese quest. He was like, well, you got it. It belongs to you. And he gained their respect that way. Well, Daito used the beta capsule to transform into Ultraman, which I've never seen Ultraman, but I know who Ultraman is. So he transforms into Ultraman, and he was giving the Sixers a run for their money, okay? Because that is a really powerful artifact that he had. And at that point, while he was as he was Ultraman, the Sixers broke into his apartment and killed him. And
yeah, that was the only way they could defeat him.
Yeah, so when he died in real life, they were able to destroy his avatar in the game. Shoto barely escaped, but before he escaped, he was able to grab all of Daito's things that he dropped. And he barely made it out, but he did. But, you know, he was able to. So Shoto gives Parzival the beta capsule. In return, Parzival gives Shoto a Masamune +5 Vorpal Blade. And Shoto says that he hasn't given up on the hunt, but he's more concerned with revenge. He wants to avenge his brother's death. And they exchange the whole "it's not over till it's over," and that's how the chapter ends, with, you know, Shoto pledging his revenge and Parzival basically agreeing that it's not, you know, that they're not going to give up on the hunt.
Nope, it can't. You can't let those suckers win.
So we get into chapter 26, where Parzival figures out what the riddle means. See, the foil that he had taken, he was examining. It was while he was examining the foil that he had taken off of the jade key. While he was examining the foil, it reminded him of a scene from Blade Runner, which I recently watched the first Blade Runner movie. Like before, I say recently, but it was like a couple of months ago. I watched Blade Runner.
The Harrison Ford Blade Runner.
Yes, the first one.
Oh, that is a classic.
Because I wanted to see the new one, and I still haven't seen the new one yet.
I haven't seen the new one either, but I don't know that I really want to.
I want to. Just I want to see, because I watched all the. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but I watched the first Blade Runner, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Oh yeah, it's
And
classic.
I watched the
I actually have the uncut extended edition or whatever, the
Aren't you lucky?
$7 at Walmart.
Well, I guess I'll have to go look for it. But I also watched all of the little like mini movies that came out before the new Blade Runner came out. There's a whole bunch of mini movies, and look,
I haven't seen any of those.
I watched it because one of the little mini movies was animated by the guy who animated Cowboy Bebop. So.
Oh, really? Wow. You probably enjoyed the hell out of that.
So, it was awesome. It was awesome. But, anyways, so Parzival, while he's examining the foil, it reminds him of that scene from Blade Runner when Harrison Ford is examining that photo, and it made him think of the origami unicorn scene. And then the second he says unicorn, the foil folded itself into a little origami unicorn, and that's when he knew where he needed to go next. So, in the Oasis, there are some free coded buildings that you can download to if you want to code yourself a planet. There are some buildings that you can put on your planet for free that you don't have to like purchase or anything. One of those is the Tyrell building in Blade Runner. Because it makes it for a really good sci-fi horizon scene. It makes your planet look really cyberpunk sci-fi like. So there are so many copies of that building in the Oasis itself. And Parzival realized the test that he has to take is that Voight-Kampff machine test to just because they had the clones and the whatnot, not the clones, the robots.
Oh, okay.
I forgot what they're called because I saw the movie like months ago. Okay,
It's been a long time since I saw the movie.
And I consume so much different kinds of media that it's hard for me to remember a lot of things. Is that Mom? Hi, Mom.
Yeah, she said hi, Mom.
So
if you go over there, she can see you because she's on that camera, but they can't see you.
So the machine is used to tell if the person is like a robot or not. Hey, nah. But and just a little on the side note, that test is also used in the popular game Fallout.
Oh, they're called replicants.
Yes, replicants.
That's
Thank
it.
You.
I had to look it up because I couldn't remember. It's been so long since I saw that movie.
So that test that you take on that machine is supposed to tell a replicant from a human.
Right.
But the Tyrell Corporation boasts that you can't tell the difference. And if you take the test, you can't really. But
you can, because that was Harrison Ford's whole character. He was one of the cops that goes around and gets rid of the replicants.
And then there's a theory that he was a replicant himself. But
I don't know. I'm not getting into that one.
But anyways, so there are that test is replicated in the popular video game series Fallout. So anyways, I'm just letting
that
people
test
know
they use that test in Fallout.
Kind of.
That's cool. I love when they do little Easter eggs like that.
It's in a few of the Fallout games.
DDO is riddled with those little kind of Easter eggs. The paintings in a lot of the quests, they do all that kind of stuff on a regular basis.
Alex was playing Fallout 2, and he found a Star Trek reference.
Sweet! I love it when they do that. Easter eggs are the bomb. And again, Easter eggs, that's what this whole contest is about. It's a giant Easter egg in this VR world. and they actually went into the very first game adventure with the very first Easter egg and all that. They go through that entire
Yeah.
history in the first few chapters.
Yeah.
You got to read this book if you haven't read it yet, Agaxian. It's fantastic.
It's really, it reminds
It's awesome.
it's very nostalgic, and it kind of reminds people like why you love the things that you love, you know?
Yep.
It's like, yeah, this is why I'm a nerd, because this stuff is awesome. But anyways, so there are so many copies of this building throughout the Oasis that takes Parzival no time at all to find the nearest building. Okay, the nearest Tyrell building. Because every building is coded with that machine, that Voight-Kampf machine, to take that test. So, yeah, it's a free template. So all he has to do is go to the nearest one, and it's on a planet called, I have not good with pronouncing some of this, but it's Axronox or Axrono. I don't know. But he goes to that planet, and he finds the Tyrell building. And it's a cyberpunk themed planet, so of course that building would be there. And he enters the building, and he fights through the Tyrell security agents, and he gets in the machine. The second he takes out the key, the machine transforms into the second gate. And he enters the Field of Stars in the second gate. He finds himself in Middletown Lanes, the bowling alley that that was in Holiday's hometown. While he is in the when he goes into the bowling alley, if he would have turned on, like, apparently his haptic suit enables him to even like smell stuff in the game if he wanted to. So if he turns on, you kind of smell the pizza, whatever.
That would be cool.
But anyways, he gets into the bowling alley, and this wind pulls him straight into the arcade room, right up to an arcade game called Black Tiger. Now, of course, Parzival has played this game and mastered it. So, he's prepared. But it goes even further, because the arcade game itself pulls him into the game, and he becomes the hero Black Tiger, which is going to require a whole different set of skills than just the regular, side scroller. So far, Holiday's two challenges. The first gate, he had to play through War Games, the movie. He had to play through the movie. This time, he has to play through one of Holiday's favorite games, Black Tiger.
That game was actually released exactly a year before you were born, August of '87.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
So he plays through the game, and he clears it in 3 hours, which I find I love video games, but I don't find that I am that good at them. And to be able to play a game like that in 3 hours is just amazing to me. And I know there are people in the real world who can do that, because they have speedruns posted on YouTube all the time. I'm like, how's it freaking?
Yeah, but back then that was probably the average gameplay to complete those. Because like Faxanadu, you could complete in about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And that was the first video game that I ever completed. Now, it took me about 6 months to get to where I could complete it. Because with the way those games worked, there was no save button or anything like that. If you got killed, you had to start completely over from the first part of the game. So you had to work your entire way through that game. There was no saving.
Jeez.
So it took me a long time before I was able to get good enough at each level of the game to make it all the way through the game. And it was about an hour and a half to 2 hours to complete it. So, I mean, that was just common. Those games, you could complete them in 2 to 3 hours. Hell, I'll sit here with DDO and I'll go through the depths in House D, and I'll play those repeatedly for a 6 hour period. Because they take to do all of them, it takes what, about an hour, hour and a half to do all 3 or 4 quests in that series. So it's, if you put it in that perspective, it's easy to do.
No. Well, I mean, the first video game that I ever beat was Final Fantasy IX for the PlayStation.
I remember you when you did that too. You were excited.
And because that was the first video game I ever actually beat.
You had such a sense of accomplishment. It was not funny. You were like the bomb.
And because I was so notorious for playing a game, but when the second I get stuck, I quit for a while, and then I end up not going back to that game. So, and now I can tell you, the past couple of years, I have added so many more games to my belt of games that I've completed. I have completed a lot of games in the past couple of years, so.
Yeah, we used to pick on Dana kind of unfairly, I guess you could say. I'll admit that. And we used to pick on Dana and say she was a wannabe gamer. She's more of a gamer than any of the rest of us combined because she does not give up now.
No, I actually
she's relentless.
Beat the games.
She's relentless. And we used to pick on her. Oh, you just a wannabe gamer. You just no. She's better than all of us at this point.
Because up until a few years ago, the only video game I ever beat was Final Fantasy IX, and then these past 4 years, just it's been one game after another that I've beaten. So yeah. Anyways. He beats the game in 3 hours, and once he beats the game, he's back in the bowling alley, and he gets to pick a prize. And there's a whole line of robots, and he can choose from, like, there are a whole bunch of little robots, and he can pick his own. Now, some of the robots are grayed out because obviously they've been chosen already. So he's searching through the robots, and he chooses one called Leopardon, apparently from the Japanese Spider-Man cartoon, which I've never seen. I think it was called Spider-Man, but I never.
Spider-Man, yep.
Yeah, Spider-Man. And Leopardon was the robot from that show, but I've never seen that show. But I recognize some of the other robots they talked about, like the Iron Giant. And I'll admit, I was not a huge fan of that movie. But of the Iron Giant.
Yeah, me either.
So, every year on Thanksgiving, I think it was Cartoon Network would stream that, or I say stream, but they would play that movie for 24 hours straight. And that was the one day of the year I did not watch Cartoon Network. I was just because I wasn't a big fan of the Iron Giant. I really wasn't.
No, I don't blame you. I wasn't either.
But, so Parzival chooses Leopardon from his selection of giant robots. And I mentioned this in the blog, but as the credits roll for Black Tiger, he takes the time to read each and every one of the programmers' names, which I thought was very cool and, respectful, because, the programmers, they're the ones that give you the awesome video games. So
yeah, that's exactly right. I think there were literally hundreds of choices he could have made, Agaxian, on, if I remember right. There was a bunch of different choices.
Yeah,
but he picks not the most powerful one in the group. He picks the one that his heart drew him to because he loved Spider-Man.
Yeah, which I do that all the time in video games. Mm-hmm. I choose
Everybody does.
the items that I love the most, whether they're powerful or not. It's always what appeals to me more. So, but as the credits are rolling, he reads each of the programmers' names with respect.
My favorite part of the book so far.
Oh, when he reads the
symbol, not the names.
Oh God!
Oh, yes.
When I was reading this and I saw that, I was like,
Yes.
"Oh my God, this would be Dad's favorite, of course, because the
Wow.
symbol that shows
Wow.
up at the end of the
Awesomeness.
credits is the symbol for one of Rush's albums.
From 2112, the 5-pointed star. Yes.
That symbol shows up. So Parzival takes screenshots, and he knows exactly what that symbol means, and he exits the second gate.
Sweet. Yes, this whole next piece.
Next chapter.
2112, baby.
I knew it. When I read
2112.
this chapter, I was like, this is going to be Dad's favorite chapter in the whole freaking book because it talks about Rush.
Getty, Alex, and Neil. Halliday says they are the gods. Yes, he's right. They're the gods.
Yeah, he calls them the gods of the North and the Holy Trinity.
The Holy Trinity. That's my favorite reference to those three. They are the Holy Trinity. There's no lie.
So, yeah, so you know all about that.
After this chapter, I'm done. You can keep the rest of the book. This is it. They can't get no better than this chapter right here.
So I'm sure you've listened to that particular album before.
I have listened to every Rush album many times.
So the title track from the album is a 7-part song, 20 minutes long. Oh my goodness.
It is amazing. It's even better if you have a drink and you're drinking a little bit of Kraken. It's even better. Oh yeah.
I'm gonna have to listen to that song because that's ridiculous. But
it's fantastic. There's no joke. I will cry. Of course, I mean everybody's got their favorite stuff, but I'd probably cry if you didn't like it. No pressure.
But what intrigues me is that it's sci-fi themed, and I'm all about science fiction. I am.
That's all Neil Peart. That's all Neil. That's all Neil. That was his concept. He wrote it. All of it. And his inspiration, believe it or not, was Ayn Rand. Whole nother story. Yeah. That's his original inspiration. That's what got him into reading and all that stuff and writing some of the music for Rush in the early days. I'm gonna end up talking about Rush the rest of this podcast. I'm gonna shut up so you can keep going. Let me be quiet.
Oh my God! You should have worn a Rush T-shirt.
I don't have one.
You don't have one?
I don't have Rush. I have Kansas. I have Styx. I have Ozzy, Megadeth, obviously, but I don't have Rush. And it would have been perfect. Rush tonight. It would have been perfect.
Oh my God! When I read this chapter, I was like, "Yep, this is all you." Okay, because apparently he has where the crystal key is located is a planet in Sector 21 that I cannot. You pronounce that? I can't. Syrinx.
The priest of Syrinx.
Okay, so the name of the planet is Syrinx.
Yep.
Syrinx. On the and on that planet are 1,024 copies of the city of Megadon, which is mentioned in the song. Apparently, it's from the song.
Yep.
So he just chooses a copy, enters the city, and it's an immaculate, gorgeous city. He describes it really well in the book. So he goes to the temple, and he's supposed to place an offering. This ding dong takes his robot and puts it on the temple to offer. I'm like, are you serious? You put your little robot? And he's like, I thought that would work. So he puts his robot, and it doesn't work. So he puts his robot back in his inventory. And then he remembers the lyrics from the song. Talks about a waterfall. So he goes to the southern edge of the city to the waterfall. He goes behind the waterfall in this hidden cave. Okay, past the trap door in this hidden chamber. And in that chamber, embedded in stone, is the 1974 Gibson Les Paul guitar.
That Alex used. Yes, to record. Yes.
And he used that on his for that album, and he apparently toured with it and used that. So yes, he.
I have I
All
actually
is feeling.
I have a background picture that I keep on my computer that I use every now and then of Alex playing on that guitar. Sean and I actually saw him play on that guitar in New Orleans when we went.
Oh yeah, y'all did go to a Rush
That
concert.
was that was Sean's first concert.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
So
and they played the
Parsival.
trees. They played the tree. I'm sorry, they never play the trees. And I was there that night, and they changed it at the last minute and played the trees. They never played the trees live all that much.
It was destiny.
It was so good.
So Parsival removes the guitar from the stone, all King Arthur like. Removes the guitar from the stone. And his first thought is to play the guitar. And he never played a guitar in real life before, but he has played one virtually, so he knows how to shred a little bit. And he shreds the first measure of Discovery from the song, and a message pops up that basically says that the third gate cannot be unlocked alone. Which probably explains why the Sixers, even though they have all gotten the crystal key, have not been able to unlock the gate yet.
Yeah, because they wouldn't have any idea what they were supposed to do at that point.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way.
So, Parsival returns to the temple and he places the guitar on the altar. Makes a whole lot more sense. And the guitar transforms into the crystal key.
Oh yeah, it fits. Alex's guitar is the crystal key. This book will not get any better. End it at chapter 27. I am finished. It will not get any better.
So the guitar transforms into the crystal key, and this puts him right back up in first place. So our hero has gone from his rock bottom, and he is moving right back up. So the key.
That's it. Thank you all for joining us tonight, everyone. We appreciate it. Book is over.
No, come on. So on the crystal key is a red letter A in calligraphy, which means that the final challenge, the final gate
A for Alex.
Is
Alex Lifeson.
Is at Castle Anorak, which is located on the planet of Chthoniya.
It's A for Alex.
Chthoniya. And that's the planet that Halliday created in memoriam of his
A for Alex. I'm gonna stop.
So anyways, the A is for Castle Anorak, and that's located on Halliday's planet Chthoniya that he created after his high school Dungeons and Dragons campaign. So he created the whole planet that his high school campaign was based off of.
Nice.
And on that planet is his avatar's castle, and that is where the third gate is located. So, he returns to his ship. Our hero is moving up to the top. He's not quite there yet. He gets to his ship, and the Sixers are already camped outside of the castle's gates. Of course. Apparently, they had gotten there while he was, in the temple. Like, not long after he was in the temple. So, they're camped outside the gates. So he cloaks his ship and he does a little flyby to get an idea of what he's up against. And there's a magical shield over the entire castle and the army. And there are already the big Gunter clans are there, trying to break through the shield like they did the first time around, but it is not working. Because they even tried digging underneath the shield, but it turns out the shield is a complete sphere going around the castle. So they're screwed.
Yeah.
They're screwed. Well, apparently this particular shield is one of those special artifacts that the Sixers were able to acquire in the auction. It's called the Orb of Osivox.
Orb of Osivox. Yep.
Apparently, it can only be taken down if the wizard holding it takes it down, or if the wizard is killed.
Either or. Kill the wizard.
But Parzival doesn't give up. He's not going to give up. So he comes up with a plan, and he sends out emails to H, Artemis, and Shoto, telling them exactly how to find the second gate and the crystal key. What is he up to?
He's stupid. That's what he's up to. He's up to stupid.
So chapter 28. Apparently, now look, I will admit, this next chapter was a little boring to me because it took place in the real world, but I don't know, the way he described like all the inner workings of just I'll get to it, but
yeah, he goes into a lot of detail that probably I think it was necessary. It's one of those chapters that nobody's going to enjoy for the most part, but it's necessary because it proves the lengths that Parzival, or Wade in this case, is truly willing to go to. And think about it. He's not doing any of this because he truly wants to win the contest.
He's doing it for Artemis.
That's exactly right. It's not because of the contest.
This little dude, okay, this is exactly what he does. His plan, okay, includes him getting arrested by the IOI corporate police. They show up to his apartment, okay? Now, look.
Just so that the Gaxian's aware and anybody else listening, in the real world, he has assumed a second identity. So they don't realize they're arresting Wade, one of the top gunters. They don't know who he is.
Yeah, they don't.
So anyway,
he covered his tracks.
He covered his tracks earlier.
Fake identity of Bryce Lynch, a college graduate, so that way he could So anyways, yeah. So he was.
Yeah, I'm just being clear for everybody listening.
Yeah, that's his fake identity.
Right.
And I kind of like the way, Ernest Cline leads up to exactly what Wade's plan is, but he starts off real slow, because when I was reading this, I was like, what the hell is going on? He's getting arrested in real life for what? What did he do? And then I realized later on in the chapter when he further explains his plan, and I'm like, oh, I see what this was. This was a slow burn.
The way they led into the chapter, which we kind of got ahead of ourselves, which we always do, forgive us. You don't realize the way it's written that this was actually his plan for this to happen.
Yeah.
You don't realize that. They wrote it to where they explained it after all these events took place. So when you're reading it, you're like, oh, crap, it's all over. I mean, he's been arrested. They're not killing him at this point. They're sucking him into employment.
Yeah, what the hell is going on? And I don't find out, because, I'm sitting here wondering, okay, so we're going to get an explanation of what his plan is. Nope. He's getting arrested in real life.
Yeah, and you don't realize that by reading all of that content, they were actually explaining, you were living his plan. Yeah, it's really well done.
It's well done.
It's well done.
It's well done, because I was very much floored by this little plot twist right here of how it all goes down. But anyways, so he gets arrested. They arrive at his apartment, and now remember, he equipped his apartment with a war door, so it takes them a while to get through that freaking door. Okay, so while they're getting through the door, a lot of things happen. Like, Parzival executes this security macro, Crom Strong in his mountain, which basically just it's just I don't know. It's a security macro that he says, and it causes a bunch of stuff to happen online and in the real world. And It's hard to explain it in a way because you're not. It's a reveal, a slow reveal, because you
Yeah.
don't know exactly the online and real world stuff that's going on. You just know that he is having Max perform some functions, and while he's performing those functions, he checks the scoreboard to make sure that everybody got the crystal key, and they did. And then he logs out of the Oasis, but not out of the game not itself. He just logs out of his stronghold and puts his avatar in this office, and then he executes his computer's self-destruct sequence that he titled Shitstorm that creates that basically sets off this incendiary device that detonates the inside of his computer, melting his computer down.
Yeah, I didn't like that, but anyway.
So he takes off his visor and his gloves, and he waits for the security guards. They get through the door. They put a ball gag in his mouth and yank him from his chair, and he curls into a ball because he knows what's gonna happen next. He has to go outside.
Now keep in mind, he hasn't been outside in over 6 months.
Yeah.
Once they pull him out of his haptic chair and the suit that he's in, he actually ain't got no clothes on under this suit.
No. So they give him a gray jumpsuit to put on, and then they cuff him. But what I really like is the way it's written. It says that just the way it's written, he's like, I curl it, because in the book he says, I curl into a ball because I know what's going to happen next. They're going to take me outside. And I'm just like...
You could relate, huh?
No, I've been going outside a lot more since we moved up here, okay? I've been catching a little sun, all right? All right. But I just thought it was funny the way it was written.
Yeah, it was really good.
Like going outside was a death sentence. I mean, I can kind of relate, but
I mean, in this day and age, in the time that this is set in, it's very common. It's very common for nobody to go outside. Probably really unhealthy.
Well, they do take him outside.
Oh yeah.
He hasn't been outside in months, okay? Because I mean, he even spray painted his apartment windows black. Like, he hasn't seen the outside in ages. And it's winter, so it is freezing cold, and they actually do give him a little something to keep him warm because he's company property now. So, which I find is ridiculous that this was allowed. But anyway, yeah, they take him to Iowa. They put him in a transport truck, and there are like 2 other people in there. And they give him a visor to kind of like a visor that has like an ocean and the waves on a beach or something like that to kind of keep him calm. But he actually doesn't. He takes that visor off and he looks out the window of the truck because he wants to see how the outside world has actually changed.
Yeah.
So that was pretty interesting, because I mean, you kind of get the idea that he's like that from earlier on in the book, because remember when he was leaving his hometown, he didn't log on to the Oasis on the bus right away. He watched his hometown fade into the background, like fade into the horizon first. And he's it's not that he's not interested in the real world, he is, just the real world is shitty, so he pays more attention to the Oasis. But so he actually looks outside of the truck to see how the world has changed. And that's where we get into chapter 29. We get a little description of the outside world. Like the snow that's falling is gray and looks more like ash than snow.
That's nasty.
The world itself looks gray and neglected, and there are a lot of homeless people. But all of those homeless people have access to the Oasis thanks to gregarious simulation systems free wireless access points. So all these homeless people who have nothing to their name except the clothes on their back and their visors and their gloves are still able to access the oasis. Because, there's like solar charging stations and free Wi-Fi points. So even though these people have no houses, they can still get onto the oasis for free, really. And that's what IOI, once if they take over, that's what they'll take away from the homeless as well.
Oh yeah,
because they won't be able to afford to pay the fees. So, anyways, the truck takes him to the IOI base, which is located. Okay, this whole thing is funny. It's the IOI base is located in 101 IOI Plaza in the middle of of downtown, where in that city where they're living. Okay, the skyscrapers for this company are actually shaped like IOI.
that is really something.
Like the building itself is even IOI. Like the skyscrapers. So Parzival, and in the chapter itself, they went to a lot of detail about how he's an indent now, and apparently, what he had done was he gave his fake identity a fake debt, so that IOI would come and arrest him on purpose. That way he'd be taken straight to the IOI headquarters and forced to work for them as an indent. Apparently these people are allowed to arrest and make these indents come and work for them. And they are given just a sliver of humanity. A sliver. Because these people, okay, like, they basically have to work to pay off their debt. But the joke is that they never really pay off their debt. The company makes it hard because they tack on all these extra fees and whatnot, and interest penalties. So
yeah, I think it's a crappy thing for them to do, but they get away with it.
And some indents don't care because it's better than living on the streets, because they see it as job security. They have a place to sleep and they have food to eat, even though the food is apparently really bad. So Parzival, and they explain how the process he goes through. He's run through basically a human car wash. He's given a physical. They even give him shots in his butt cheeks.
At the same time.
Yeah. And he has to watch. He's made to watch instructional videos. He's tagged with an ankle bracelet and an ear camera. Like, they tag him like, the way people, the way they tag cows or animals in the wild. They tag him. Like, at least his blood was protected by the Genetic Privacy Act. So even though they gave him a physical, they're not allowed to take any blood. Because if they would have, his cover would have been blown.
Yeah. But thank God the laws prevent them from being able to do that.
So just that one, but they're basically given just a little shred of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, these people are treated like animals.
Well, and they're basically trapped. I mean, you can get further into it, but they're basically trapped because there's absolutely no way they can ever pay down their debt. They end up owing more money than ever, and that's one of the ways IOI uses to just keep them in submission. It's almost like free employment or free labor.
Yep. So,
I hate the way they do that.
I know.
And it's not even real, and I get all rah, rah.
I know. I was getting all pissy too. It's just like, this is horrible. The food is gross, and he's given this tiny little space to sleep in that has a camera right there so they can watch him. So in addition to the ankle bracelet that tracks where he is, the camera that's tacked on to his ear, there's a camera right where he sleeps. So they're always watching him. And he's got a monitor. There's a monitor built into the sleep capsule wall that has the, that, oh, but he's allowed to have entertainment. You're allowed to watch shows, but you have to earn points to be able to watch those shows.
Yeah.
So, like, what is he planning on accomplishing?
You even have to earn points to be able to decorate his cube and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, all those little bitty things, nothing is taken for granted. He's completely watched 24/7. That,
so what is he trying to accomplish here? What is it? What is he trying to do?
It's coming. It's coming.
Like, they don't even describe exactly what he's going to do in this chat. They just describe the whole process, and then he's like, well, he had given him his fake identity the debt himself. But anyways, as he's falling asleep, he's thinking of Artemis. And he has a little moment of self-doubt that this crazy plan is even going to work. And he mentally tortures himself until he falls asleep. And now, our final chapter of the night, chapter 30. We get an idea of what his plan is.
Finally. The
slow burn, because I was floored when he got arrested. I'm like, what the heck is going on? But it's all part of the plan. So anyways, so the background that that Parsifal gave his fake identity, it was a lot of technical background. So when he completed the tests for the indent program, it put him in the technical support department of IOI's indent program. So he was able to get exactly where he wanted to go. But that means he has to deal with customers on the daily.
Mm-hmm. And that's never fun.
I did not mention at all his first customer's name because I didn't feel like I needed to mention it. Okay.
Yeah, let's not. No, I don't want to say it either.
But he does. The first customer he has to deal with is this ding dong who bought a sword that he was too low level for. And what I love about that interaction is that Parsifal actually insults this dude several times, and he gets a warning. And the customer never gets to hear him insult him. He never gets to hear the insults. Because the program warns him, like, hey, warning, you're not supposed to call the customer an idiot, and you're not supposed to tell the customer to shove the sword up his own butt. But he ends up with 2 courtesy violations because he insults this guy. And I thought that was really funny, actually. Because it shows Parsifal had no patience at all. So, anyways, in Parsifal's little sleep capsule, like at the end, we get a little bit of an idea of what his workday is like in IOI.
Not very fun.
Yeah.
It sucks.
And we find out that he's actually been there for 8 days. But anyways, he's in his sleep capsule. And I said he uses his hacker tech know-how because there's a lot more description in the book, okay? And I'm not very good with descriptions of technology. I'm not. But he uses his hacker know-how to navigate himself through the entertainment operation menus. So like remember how I said they have on that monitor in his sleep capsule are like a bunch of things he can look at. One of those is entertainment. Well, he was able to hack his way past the entertainment, and it was like a doorway into the rest of the company's internet system, okay? So months before any of this went down, he had purchased information that could get him through IOI's network and that he had gotten off of the black market. The problem was that you could only use this information if you were actually inside of IOI's headquarters, which meant you had to be an employee or an indent.
Yep.
So when he had seen the Sixers set up their shield, when he had seen that shield around Anorak's castle, he's like, I know what I have to do. Because he had saved that information for rainy day. Well,
here's his rainy day. He's able to use it now.
So all this information is like a bunch of passwords and backdoors through IOI's internet system, their intranet. And he had actually spent 8 days as an indent hacking his way through the system every night. He was able to give himself a measure of privacy because he could reconfigure the cameras to make it seem like he was just sleeping or just watching the instructional videos or whatever. That then on the 7th night that he's there, he hacked his way into the Oology Division database, which is basically the Sixers that's the Sixers private database. So on the 8th day, he fully hacks into it, and he finds so much information, like everything that he needs. He even finds a whole bunch of information on Holiday he didn't even know existed.
Right. Yeah. All kind of cool stuff about Halliday that the world doesn't know existed.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I love the stuff that you're about to get into. That's actually my favorite part. The stuff he finds out as well about his main reason behind all this.
Yeah, I know. He knows he doesn't have time to read all of the Holiday stuff. So he downloads it because apparently he was able to hack into the system and have stuff delivered to a cubicle not far from him where he was able to get that stuff. So he's got this hard drive waiting to download all this information onto. So he downloads all the Holiday information onto this hard drive that he has, okay? But he also gathers intel on the army around the castle, and as well as data on the orb, and that there's like a 99th level wizard that has the orb that's holding up the shield right now.
Yeah.
He also has all the data the Sixers have on the final gate. And as he's downloading that info, he finds information on the High Five. Him and the others, and apparently the Sixers have so much more information than he originally thought. Everything there is to know about each member except for H. H is the one they have the least information about because H is just moving around all the time, so they don't really know much about him. But Parzival examines each of the files, and he looks at Artemis's file.
Yes, he does.
And he actually gets to see what she looks like in the real world.
And he is smitten.
Yep, he finds out her real name is Samantha Evelyn Cook.
Ooh, look out now.
And but on a more creepy note, apparently the Sixers, because IOI is this huge corporation that owns a lot of internet stuff, they're able to illegally eavesdrop on everyone everywhere. So they're able to actually watch Artemis and record everything she's doing in her house. Like they're watching her in her home. Her and Shoto, they have cameras and they're watching them both in real time. So Parzival downloads all of this information, okay? And by the way, Artemis, he sees her picture. So in real life, Artemis looks like her avatar, except she's got this birthmark on her face. But he loves her anyway.
He actually loves her even more because he finds she's even more beautiful because this is real.
Yes.
And I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world because she thinks, because she's commented on it, she thinks she's hideous.
Yeah, because of her birthmark. But
all of y'all all do that. Let me just say right now, every last one of y'all do that, and it don't make no damn sense. It doesn't matter to us. It matters to y'all, and y'all freak out over the little bittiest thing. Why y'all do that?
Guys do that too. Guys have moments where they freak out about their appearance too.
No, we don't.
Yeah, oh, please.
Hey, Alfonso. Yep, we're talking about Ready Player One. Yep, this is This is our 11th podcast. We're covering chapters 21 through 30 tonight, and we're actually about to finish up. We're on the last chapter. The movie is good. I've said it before, if I'd have watched the movie first, if I would have read the book before watching the movie, I would have hated the movie. Enough said. The book is 100,000 times better than the movie.
Yeah. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I plan on watching it anyway. When it comes out digitally on July 3rd.
Whoop whoop.
And then it'll come out on Blu-ray on July 24th.
The movie is good. It's a lot of fun. I love all the music and the references to the 80s because that's my childhood or my teenage and young adult years.
Yeah.
But the book is way better.
Oh, yes. Also, I wanted to let everybody know, on Spotify is the soundtrack for Ready Player One.
Oh, yes.
I've listened to it. Though they don't have the entirety of that Rush song. They don't have the full song.
Also, go to Spotify, hit Rush, listen to 2112, one of the greatest albums ever created. Thank you.
And I will go and I will listen to that song because I want to hear it.
You need to listen. You need to listen to the whole album with your headphones on and a nice drink. Listen to the words because the entire thing is a story.
Yes, I plan on listening. I think I am going to listen to it because, it's part of the story, and I want to hear. I want to hear the story itself. So, but there's like a small bit of it on the soundtrack. They don't put the whole song on the soundtrack itself. So, but I have listened to the Ready Player One soundtrack. Really good. So, better go check that out. So yeah, chapter 30, and we're getting towards the end of the chapter. So he downloads the information that IOI has on the high five and IOI's mission status folder, which he finds out Sorrento has sent an email to the higher ups for permission to abduct Artemis and Shoto in the real world and make them figure out the third gate for him. So this changes Parzival's plans because he was giving himself more, I think like a whole another week to infiltrate IOI and then leave, because he actually has a plan to escape. What he was going to do was he was going to have a certain amount of money funded to pay off his debt, and he was going to have it slowly released into his account in order to pay off the debt. But now he has to, instead of a week from now, he has to escape that night, because if he doesn't escape and warn Artemis and Shoto, they could get kidnapped. So he needs to escape then, like that night. So he grabs as much data as he possibly can, and he formulates his escape plan. And that is the end of chapter 30.
So are we already done? That was quick. Well, I guess not so quick. 2 hours.
It takes us 1 hour to cover 4 chapters, but it takes us 2 hours to cover 10 chapters.
Yeah.
Whew. We have no middle ground.
Oh, we never do. What do you think my mom always said? There's no happy medium for me. It's either all or nothing.
It's all or nothing.
She's always said that.